What's up, everybody? It's Danny Green here, co-host Harrison Sanford, back with Inside the Green Room, brought to you by Jack in the Box. I am currently in the bubble in Orlando. Harrison's in LA. We got my main man, Stephen A. in New York. You know, the legend, man. Harrison, take it away.
Yeah, we're excited to have Stephen A. There's a number of topics we have to discuss. We're going to look back at some classic Lakers, Magic Johnson, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal. We'll talk about the absence of Avery Bradley. We'll talk about some comments Stephen A. made about the bubble in itself. But I'll let Danny take away with the first question.
First and foremost, my thoughts go out to those who were affected by the COVID, especially our fans in California where the cases are rising. But Stephen A., we said we tried to make this happen before before COVID hit. But you were in New York when it happened, correct?
Yes, I was.
So just tell us and describe to us what it was like when it first hit, how the cases have been going up, how they've gone down during this time, the deaths, and how things were affected to you and everyone around you.
Well, first of all, it was real scary. I mean, I'm a dad, and I got 4 older sisters. My mom and dad, unfortunately, have passed away in the last 3 years, one from cancer, one from Parkinson's disease and whatever. And so, you hearing about the stuff that's going on with COVID-19, and it kind of scared you because whatever they're going through now, to a lesser degree in California, more so to a degree in Florida, Texas, that's what was going on in New York at the time. People don't realize it. At one point in time, New York was the epicenter of the coronavirus because the cases were extreme. There wasn't enough hospital facilities. There wasn't enough medical professionals available. There wasn't enough personal protection equipment. And on top of it all, it was one of those situations where for New York City, Gotham City, the bright lights, the city that never sleeps, to be completely shut down, where I'm talking about for the first time in my life. Remember, I was born in the Bronx. I was raised in Hollis, Queens, New York from the time I was 1 year old. I have never, ever in my life seen New York devoid of traffic. I've never seen a situation where you went through the tunnel and you were the only car in the tunnel. And then on top of it all, because the cases were rising and getting out of control, it got to a point where the police were shutting down the tunnels after a certain time at night. You couldn't even travel from New York to New Jersey or anything like that. It was really scary. And what also made it scary was the fact that it was so little information out there at the time. It wasn't just about somebody sneezing or coughing in your face. That's a given. Somebody could have the flu right now. Somebody could have a cold. You don't want them coughing or sneezing in your face. Somebody could be sick and shake your hands with their nasty ass, sweaty hands and stuff that they didn't wash. That's a given. But when you're worried about catching something because your finger touched an elevator button, or you touched a railing, or you opened the car door and somebody else might have touched it before you, or you got to spray down your car inside and out before you even get in. It was like, damn, how is any of us going to get away from catching this? And so it was unreal. There's no question about it. And it's still a bit surreal to say the least. But there is comfort in knowing that New York went from being the epicenter to going to be just about 2 weeks ago, it had 0 deaths, 0. And so what that says to you is that wearing your mask, putting on some gloves, washing your hands, and most importantly, engaging in social distancing. If you do those things, you have an opportunity to beat this long enough for us to get our feet up under us and propel forward. And that's where my positive mindset is right now.
For sure. It's definitely great signs to see that major cities are making good strides. Because like you said, first and foremost, condolences the loss. I did call you and text you when you did lose. I think it was your dad at the moment.
Thank you, man. Yeah,
but a lot of us have lost some people, and a lot of my dad's friends, he's lost some of his friends. In California, they said we've never seen in traffic in California, you know how that is. We've never seen, a standstill traffic to be as wide open as it is now. Also trying to get back to normal, but it was scary. But it's good to see people are taking it serious in most parts of the country. Not everywhere, because some places are.
Unfortunately,
Unfortunately, but at least in New York, LA, cases are going down. People are taking it seriously, and we'll get back to normal.
the thing about it is, like, for example, let's be real about something. We've seen cases spike in Florida and Texas and in Cali and Arizona mainly, even though it's spiked in about 35 or 36 different states. The numbers are really astronomical there. I remember I saw a column written by some conservative just the other day. I think it was George Wills, who used to be on This Week with David Brinkley, that's now called This Week with George Stephanopoulos. It comes on Sunday mornings. He used to be on that show weekly, and he wrote a column, and he pointed out how country of Germany, has 80.2 million people in it, and it had like 159 cases reported a couple of weeks ago, while Florida has 21.5 million, and they had 15,300 cases reported. And so what that tells you, based on what we're seeing, like, we got to be real about who we are as a nation of people. We're incredibly spoiled. You know, when we sit up here and we talk about how this is the greatest nation in the world, well, let's understand what that means. That means we might make up about 5% of the world's population, but we might take up 25% of its resources. We're accustomed to having, and we're not accustomed to doing without. And so as a result, when you hear doctors and medical professionals telling you engage in social distancing and wear your mask, and oh, by the way, don't go to work and earn a living until we tell you to, you're going to have people who are diametrically opposed to that, and they're going to act accordingly. They're going to be a bit, abrasive, and they're going to be a bit resistant to all of that. My problem is that if you are just harming yourself, I understand. But when you can take something home to your parents, your grandparents, or elderly people that might be around you or what have you, and you have the ability to contaminate or to injure somebody else because you could be potentially asymmetric without any symptoms, or asymptomatic rather, without any symptoms whatsoever, you do have an obligation to be thoughtful about other people, not just yourself. And right now, what we're learning about a lot of folks in America is that they don't give a damn about anybody but themselves. And that's a real problem.
Yeah, we're in a very unfortunate time, and all this is happening in an election year, so it adds another level of drama to it. I know the decision for kids going back to school is going to be a highly debated topic, and we'll hear some more about that over the next week. And I just hope and pray that the right decision is made and it's backed by science. And unfortunately, this is a new virus, so the science continues to improve, but nobody's right because it's new. So we just got to hope for the best and remain optimistic. Stephen A., remaining to that point, the coronavirus obviously shaped everybody, their daily lives, and obviously it's impacted the sports world. As a daily content talent, how did that impact and you and your approach to what you were doing? And if you could describe some of the challenges that you've gone through providing content for the public, whether it's First Take or whether it's on radio or whether it's appearances on SportsCenter and things of that nature.
I'd be disingenuous if I denied that it was a challenge, a tremendous challenge, because live events are what it's all about. And if there are no live events going on, then it's incredibly, incredibly difficult for you to go on the air every day and do what I do, because it's about content. If you ain't talking about anything, what does it matter? And so when nothing was going on but the coronavirus, that was an incredible challenge. But there's a couple of things that I thought allowed me to have a break. Number one, our willingness to air The Last Dance. We pushed up The Last Dance with Michael Jordan about 2 or 3 months. Instead of coming on in June, it came on in April. And so that content that was on week after week really propelled us and gave us some meat and potatoes to really talk about things, to remind people of what sports was all about, and to re-engage ourselves in sports after it was, we took a brief hiatus for about a few days or so. But the other thing about it for me personally, and I can only speak about for myself on this, I've never considered myself just a sports commentator or a sports writer or a sports reporter. I've always used sports as a conduit to engage in other more pertinent and potent matters. And the fact that social justice issues have really reared its head, and that's become an issue that we've all had to discuss, along with various other things, that's right up my alley. If you go back and you read my work from the time that I was at the New York Daily News to the Philadelphia Inquirer to CNN, SI, Fox Sports, and then ESPN, I've never been just about talking about sports. I've always found the issues connected to the world of sports to engage in, because I think that's what life is really, really about. There's only but so much you can say about the game. There's only but so many ways I can say LeBron missed this free throw. LeBron dropped 40. Kyrie Irving could dance on you. Kyrie Irving might be a headache in the locker room. Kevin Durant's the best player in the world, but maybe it's LeBron, and here comes the Greek freak. Yeah, you can talk about all of those things, but it's a game. But there are also components that come with the game, the level of focus and dedication that you put forth, where your mindset is, the kind of things that you're involved in, what you're distracted by, et cetera, et cetera. Right now, we've got an election coming up. LeBron James with this more than a vote movement and what he's trying to do. Listen, I'm all in, and I don't, LeBron and I don't rap like that, but let me make sure I will gladly be a soldier on his behalf for that, because he's talking about doing things that are incredibly important. And we all know what an incredible role model and a great talent he is. You look at the Tulsa riots in 1921, Black Wall Street, and you saw what LeBron was trying to do on Juneteenth. You saw what Russell Westbrook was trying to do with his documentary and stuff like that. Those kind of things matter. And the fact that you've got these guys who are prolific athletes, incredibly talented, and who are wealthy because of it, stepping back and reminding us all of who they are, where they came from, and how we all should remember the same. Those are stories within the world of sports that we could use to really, really get into and to really talk about life. Because when you do that, you're not just talking to the sports fan. People outside the world of sports are even willing to listen to you at that point, because they want to hear your perspective. And in my business, I have never been about some kind of monolithic appeal. I've never been about Black appeal. I've always been about mass appeal. I don't want just Black folks. I don't want just whites, just Jewish folks or whomever. I want everybody I can get. And you have to have that kind of mentality. So for me, it played right into my hands. And I was lucky and fortunate enough that it was just seamless for me. But I'm quite sure I can't say that for everybody.
For sure.
Sorry, Harrison, to cut you off.
No, you got it. No, you got it.
I know you had a question, man, but I wanted to piggyback on that since we're on the topic.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as you see, we're in the bubble, Stephen, and we're still trying to focus on the movement. What are some tangible things you would like to see us as NBA players try to accomplish while we're in the bubble with the Black Lives Matter movement?
Well, for me, I'm going to be real up and down with you, Danny. I've been very, very, it's a double-edged sword. I'm very, very proud of how socially conscious brothers have been. But I'm very disappointed with the kind of results. What I mean by that is that me personally, I understand that there is a place for symbolic gestures, and I'm never saying to eradicate that. What you have on the back of your jerseys matter. When you step up to a microphone and you want to engage in a conversation about things that are pertinent to Black lives in the United States and America and beyond, I'm all down with that. I'm all for that. I do it every day. So I get that. But when you consider the kind of power and potency the modern day professional athletes has, particularly in a sport like the NBA, where you find a collection of the richest Black folks we've ever seen. We've never seen a collection of Black folks get this rich over an industry in American history, one could easily argue. You might have a few sprinkled here in Wall Street, a few doctors, a few accountants, a few traders and stockbrokers and all of this other stuff. But the collection of talent where every single team you look at, there's at least 2 or 3 multi-millionaires on that squad. You haven't seen a business generate that kind of wealth for a Black man in NBA history. And so for me, when I look at it, I say, okay, well, what if you take, and I presented this on First Take on ESPN just the other day. I said, yo, you ever heard of a PAC? It's a political action committee. What if, I said, for lack of a better phrase, what if I called it the Black PAC? BPAC, a Black Political Action Committee. What if you took the top 20 highest paid Black athletes in the NBA and you contributed $100,000 to $200,000 a year to that PAC, and you said, excuse me, we're going to connect ourselves with the right people, we're going to fund it, and what their job and our jobs, sole responsibility, is to go up on Capitol Hill and any legislation that we want addressed, we go up there on it with a lobbyist and we get politicians to address it, because who's going to turn that down? Not only do they want the money, but they don't want the negative publicity that can ultimately emanate from them denying whatever your cause is, because not only as a basketball player do you have visibility because of your talent, but it's because of the microphone that they hand to you after games and before games. So the power that can come from the black athlete, particularly one associated with the NBA, is very profound. If NFL players with a hard salary cap who don't make nearly as much money as y'all can still get the commissioner of the National Football League to say, we made a mistake, we didn't listen, we are listening now, Black Lives Matter, what else could they get him to do? What about the businesses that black folks have patronized for years and years and years that have been making money off the backs of black people? What about NBA players and NFL players going to them and saying, okay, this is what we did for y'all. What y'all gonna do for us? What about apprenticeships? What about internships? What about job opportunities? This money that we're funneling into your coffers, how about being reciprocal and doing the same thing for us? If anybody had the power to do that, y'all do. And if y'all did it, I'll be down with that play. I put my money right in that pot with y'all. I ain't got as much as y'all, but I ain't broke. So I definitely could contribute as well. And so those are the kind of things that I think about. And again, when folks were talking about social justice, it's not that I disagreed with them. I just believe that from a national perspective, we have a history of accepting symbolic gestures on far too many occasions. Not to say that they're not meaningless, not to say that there's never been a time when things have transitioned, protests and things of that nature, civil rights legislation, voting rights legislation. We got all of that. But in this day and age, again, what sparked all of this? George Floyd's killing. The knee, a modern day lynching took place. Knee on the neck of a black man. He wasn't hung by a noose, but you had your knee on his neck and you killed him. How about marching up on Capitol Hill with your commissioner, with some of the team owners, along with yourselves, and mandating that police brutality against unarmed black men become a federal hate crime? These are the kind of things that could happen. And I think that y'all have the power to pull it off if the focus was there. And so for me, that's where my disappointment lies to some degree. It's not that y'all are not doing anything. It's not that y'all don't care, because y'all are all great dudes, every one of y'all. My only issue is that don't fall for the symbolic gestures. I work for white America too. And I'm telling you right now, I tell them all the time, I don't give a damn about your symbolism. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? I tell them that all the time. And my bosses at ESPN and beyond can all testify. Stephen A. has been in their face and in their offices throughout my career, pointing this out, and that out, and saying, what you gonna do? And that's all I'm saying that players should do as well.
Okay. Then I'll let you follow up to that.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I agree. Even if we did, it doesn't have to be the top 20 players. Even if we did, there's 450 of us. We did 300 guys doing, 10 to 20,000, 5,000. You all pitch in. You got 300 people be able to pitch in.
Yeah.
Instead of funding, and it starts the movement. Then our voices, obviously, the symbolic gestures are heard, but definitely heard even more. You said when you have something behind it.
Oh, by the way, can I say this suggestion real quick?
Go ahead.
By the way, the lower the contribution is, like, let's say, for example, instead of the 100 to 200,000 from 20 players, right? You sat up there and said 25 to 50,000 from 100 players or something like that. You know what that provokes? That provokes people outside of the NBA players to join the NBA players because they can afford to do it. Because everybody don't have millions, but they might have thousands. And then all of a sudden, it ain't just the NBA players. The NBA players get to turn around and say, all right, Stephen A., what you doing? All right, this analyst, this commentator, this columnist, whomever, what you gonna do? All right, coach, what you gonna do? GM, what you gonna do? You just gonna leave us here and put it on the players? See, the less money you have to contribute, the more it could potentially provoke more bodies contributing to the same cause. And then real change can actually take effect. For sure. And I've been talking to the Players Association, been talking to the league. They're talking about set up a camp or a certain area for us to come together and get some. I said, I'll take these ideas. Of course, these are great ideas. And bring it to the table. But on the lighter note, we have other things that Harrison, I'm sure you want to discuss.
Sure. Yeah, no, for sure. No, those are great suggestions, Danny. I'm happy that with you being an active member in the NBPA, being the Lakers representative, I'm happy you have the opportunity to bring that to some of your players. And earlier today on Friday, we saw that the Sacramento Kings are going to use their arena as a voting facility. So we're seeing some movement. That's a great thing. I know the Atlanta Hawks.
I think it's going to happen in Atlanta too, right? Is that going to happen in Atlanta as well?
The Atlanta Hawks
with
are doing
Coach Lloyd.
Well.
Coach Lloyd Pierce, he's been on the front lines with all of this, man. Major props to him too.
Yeah, I believe that's going to be the largest polling facility in Georgia. So I'm happy they're doing that, and I hope that more teams go down that route. But moving forward from that, and again, that was a great discussion. I know Stephen A. for a long time. I love New York sports. So I've been listening to his radio show for a long time. I know Danny's a basketball player, so maybe he hasn't spent enough time being able to listen to Stephen A. on the radio. But one of my favorite segments that Stephen A. used to do, one of his producers would play some music, and then the Love Doctor would enter the conversation.
Right.
So, Stephen A., you recently went viral, like you usually do, for your comments about players being unsettled in the bubble. Danny just got engaged during this little quarantine pandemic.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
If the Love Doctor would enter inside the green room and give advice for the NBA players in the bubble, and then if you could, give some advice for those single men who are living in this COVID-19 life.
Well, first of all, I don't like the word advice because I ain't qualified to give that advice. I've never been married. It's been on purpose, even though I anticipate that that'll change in the near future. The bottom line is that, let me be very, very clear. I wasn't trying to call anybody out in any way. What I'm saying is we're men, okay? And to ask a bunch of brothers to go weeks upon weeks without is a strong ask. That is really, really an ask, okay? And so what we're talking about is 3-4 weeks minimum where you don't get to see anybody, you can't have anybody with you. I'm like, damn, don't tell me these guys gonna honor the bubble. Hell, I don't know if I'd honor the bubble if I was there under those conditions. And I said that on national television. So I'm just being real about it. You know, even though I'm half joking, I'm half serious because, again, I'm 52 years old. I can go without, you know. But when you in your 20s and you making millions, especially if you single, but I mean, that's just a lot to ask, okay? It's just a lot. I mean, there's no other way to put it. So when you ask for advice, I ain't qualified to give that kind of advice. Not that kind of advice. My props to any brother that can do it. But any brother that can't, I understand. I do. It's a tough pill to swallow. Now, you're doing it for the right reasons, but you're doing it for business, and I get it, but damn, it's easy. And you know what else makes it harder? Most of the people handing down the rules ain't doing it. They ain't in the bubble. They ain't there by themselves making that sacrifice. They ain't doing that. I mean, so it's hard when people are telling you what to do when they ain't doing it. You know, and that's a very, very, because now you're getting upset because you're getting tight. You understand? Then you get a little desperate. And then after that, you get ticked off. And you get ticked off because you're like, damn it, they ain't here. They ain't got to do this. Well, I got to do this. Man, bump this. I mean, shoot, I should be able to go right down the block. I mean, damn, I should be able to do something. That's how you think it. And so, again, the word advice is not apropos. If there was ever a time where I can legitimately tell you I'm in no position to espouse advice upon anybody on a particular subject, it would be this one. I don't know what the hell they should do. Honestly, I really don't.
It is a sacrifice, and that
yes, it is.
3 or 4 weeks would have been nice. I think it's more of 6 to 8 for us. I think it's longer. So there's a lot of FaceTime calls. Yeah, it's the best way to keep in contact with your people and follow up. So it is a sacrifice, not let alone the other things that are going on here, but the sacrifice of leaving your family, your loved ones.
Well, we know the leaving the family, all of that stuff is a given. But I'm just saying, I mean, listen, you love your woman. You love your woman, and chances are, if you're about to get married, you're very, very, very attracted to your woman. And then guess what? You on FaceTime or Zoom or whatever, and you looking at her, and you can't be there with her. That's torture. That's very tough. That's very tough. I'm glad I ain't there yet, y'all. I'm glad I ain't there. Let me just be real.
For a while. But
I'll be there.
we appreciate you sacrificing those times to come in. And we know you can't give advice to us, but for the single guys who are outside the bubble, like my guy Harrison here, he's looking for, during the pandemic, it's been a little struggle.
Oh, you gonna put me out on Front Street?
Yeah.
What advice could a love doctor give a guy like Harrison during a pandemic?
Well, if you listen, whether you got somebody you love or you don't, the advice is first and foremost to stay safe, because ain't nothing worth you getting sick and coming down with the Rona. It's just that simple. Ain't not worth that. You can have a moment of fun, but it could cost you big time. And so you got to refrain, and whoever you were around, make sure that if they're gonna be in your presence, they ain't around anybody. And be very strict about that. You're like, who you with? What you been doing? I was on a flight. A flight where? How many people on a flight? Did you wear your mask? Did you engage in social distancing? Because if not, you can't come near me. You got to be strict, because it ain't worth getting sick. That much is the truth. You got to sit up there and refrain. You ain't got to know. You don't have any choice. And if somebody wants to be with you bad enough, they gonna make sure they weren't around anybody.
Nothing more attractive than a woman who takes care of her health. So yes, just prioritize the ones who wash their hands, wear a mask, engage in social distancing, and keep it to
washing
themselves.
the hands is key. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm not upset at all. The one thing that doesn't make me upset at all about COVID-19 is that I can actually get away without shaking hands, because it's the one thing I always hated. Because if you shook hands with people in a crowd, you were almost assured of shaking hands with somebody who had nasty, sweaty hands and then washed their hands. And anytime that happens, when you shake somebody's hands and it feels like a sponge, I knew I was going to get sick. Every single time that happened to me, I knew I would get sick. I'd shake the hand, I'd be like, damn, because I knew I would come down with the flu or something like that in just a matter of days. And it never failed.
That is the plus side of the pandemic. We don't have to. We love to greet our fans, don't get me wrong. But we don't have to greet them as much as all the time.
There you go. There you go.
So much love.
So we've got in New York City, Stephen A. Smith, the New York City resident. We've gotten Stephen A. Smith, the love doctor. So now if you could embrace us with Stephen A. Smith as we get into a little bit more basketball talk here, specifically the game of basketball. So Thursday night on Inside the NBA, Charles Barkley said that if the Blazers make it to the playoffs, they would be beating the Lakers.
He said they'd beat the Lakers?
He said they would beat the Lakers if they made it to the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, well, Charles has been wrong many times before. So have I, but especially him. But I got you.
Yeah, so the question would be, I believe most basketball fans would not agree with that. But the question for you is, what team should the Lakers fear the most if they get that 8th seed? You got the Pelicans, you got the Kings, Suns, Blazers, and Spurs.
No, I think they should fear Portland more so than anybody because of their experience. And Dame time. The brother's big time. As far as I'm concerned, he should have been first team All-NBA last year. He was absolutely sensational. Not this past season. I'm talking about last year when they went to the conference finals because Steph Curry had been hurt a little while. But I'm of the mindset that Damian Lillard is elite. He's a superstar in this league. He's a big-time scorer. He has no fear. And C.J. McCollum ain't shabby at all. That's a dynamic backcourt right there. I don't think it's necessarily a better backcourt than James Harden and Russell Westbrook, but it's lethal nonetheless. And that combined with Melo, if you get Nurkic back, with the pieces that they have in place, I think because of their experience and the fact that the game has changed and evolved to such a degree that it's more of a guard-oriented game, I definitely think that Portland would be the team to fear. I respect John Moran and Memphis and what they've done, but I think they're relatively young. New Orleans, they've got a lot of potential, and Brandon Ingram deserves a lot of credit for the kind of year that he has had, because we've been talking about so much about Zion and the 23 that he was averaging that we forgot that Brandon Ingram was the all-star. He was the one averaging nearly 25 a game. He's the former Laker that really has shown what he can bring to the table. So, and I think Alvin Gentry's a damn good coach. So I think the combination of all of those things would lend you to believe that New Orleans, in terms of their young bloods, could really do some damage, especially if Zion is 100% healthy. But I just think experience, nothing can beat it come playoff time. And in light of this pandemic that's been going on that caused a 4-month plus hiatus from the sport. When you're going up against an experienced bunch like the Lakers, led by two of the top 5 players on the planet in LeBron and Anthony Davis, I think the one thing that can offset their momentum is experience, as opposed to talent and athleticism. It's not to say that you don't have to have that, but if you have that, but you're just flummoxed with experience, I think that could go a long way towards helping you steal something and taking advantage of a more experienced team or a better team in the postseason.
For sure, and I agree. I think the team, I wouldn't say that we fear anybody, but if we were, to choose to have a first-round matchup, I think, we probably lean towards away from Portland. Because of the fact, they have more experience. They have Dame, they have CJ, guys that score the ball greatly, and have Nurkic back. They have a lot of threats and a lot of experience. Not saying those other teams don't have threats, but they are younger. Memphis is very young. Everybody wants to see the New Orleans matchup. Of course, they want to see Zion and Bron, AD, and of course, that would be an exciting matchup for the fans. But for us, realistically, we probably more see Portland as more of a threat because of their experience than the other two. The other two teams are very good, but Portland's probably more of a threat to us because of their experience.
And while Portland is going to get Nurkic back, they will also get back Zach Collins. So that's another addition to their roster as well. It might mean Melo plays more at the 3, but nonetheless, that is an addition. Now you have Nurkic coming off the bench or potentially starting Whiteside, so that gives them 2 big 7-footers. Stephen A. So I don't know. I'm curious where you thought the Lakers were in terms of title favorites before the Avery Bradley decision not to join the bubble. And with that decision, does that drastically change? Let's say if you thought they were the title favorites, maybe they're a contender. How does that impact your viewpoint?
I respect Avery Bradley greatly. I think he's an elite on-ball defender. I think that he was going to be missed, and my prayers are with his family, because remember, he elected not to join the bubble because his 6-year-old had respiratory issues. So we wish him nothing but the best, and we certainly understand his position. But the Lakers were my favorites to win the title before he departed, and they were my favorite after. Where I became a bit reluctant is when Rondo went down too, because I think the combination of Avery Bradley and Rajon Rondo being out puts more, I shouldn't say pressure, because there can't be any more pressure on LeBron James, and he can handle it. But when you talk about 17th year in the league, 35 years of age, although this rest should help him because he takes such marvelous care of his body, the bottom line is you never know when that can rear its ugly head in terms of fatigue, attrition, father time kicking in. So that's something to be mindful of, since you don't have your 2 guards in Bradley and Rondo to spell for him. That puts more of an onus on Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Alex Caruso, and obviously J.R. Smith. But the guard play itself, playmaking ability, playmaking responsibilities, clearly are falling on the shoulders of LeBron James. And when I think about a team as deep as the Clippers, led by Kawhi Leonard, led by Paul George and what have you, I don't blame anybody that has them as the favorite, because you got this suspended season. So guess what? Kawhi doesn't have to worry about load management. We have to remember he only played 60 games in Toronto last year, missed 22 because they were engaging in load management, but didn't miss a playoff game, if I remember correctly, and averaged 39 minutes a game in the postseason. So he's clearly a guy that you've acquired to show up in the postseason. And we all know what Kawhi Leonard could do once the postseason arrives. Paul George is no slouch. He's a star in this league. Patrick Beverley is one of the elite pests in this league as a defender. And then you consider Lou Williams, who's just automatic coming off the bench for you, Montrezl Harrell, who can ball. One of the Morris twins is there, and he's going to make his contribution, Marcus Morris. You just look at all of these things. The Clippers are clearly the deepest team. There is no doubt about that. But I think that when you have 2 of the top 5 players on the planet Earth, they should be able to overcome stuff in the sport of basketball. And so I'm not saying that the Lakers can't be beat, because I know the Clippers could do some things to them. Who knows what Milwaukee could do? All I'm saying is LeBron James and Anthony Davis on the same team in the postseason, I have to see you knock them off to believe that you will.
And I agree. I think when AB left Anthony Avery Bradley, it definitely was a blow. It was a hit. Rondo being out was a hit too. But the good thing about Rondo, he's going to be back hopefully at the first round of playoffs. So during that first round, so he won't be out for too long.
Right.
We did pick up another ball handle playmaker in Dion Waiters and another floor spacer in JR. But I do think it allows us to get stronger. Other players get more minutes. Alex Caruso get more minutes running the one. Even Quinn Cook a little bit. But even outside of that, we don't have to have Bron initiate the offense every time. And we've been working on doing that, having KCP just bring the ball up, even myself. So when Rondo does come back, we'll have guys have more in their arsenal, be more comfortable bringing the ball up, initiating or making plays, even when he does come back, which will make us a stronger, deeper team, I think. But Clippers do have a very deep team. Don't get me wrong. You named all the guys. They even have Reggie Jackson. You forget about, and they added Joakim Noah. They have a bunch of guys that can hoop.
Forgive me, I'm not thinking about those two.
Yeah.
I'm just not. I don't see maybe Reggie Jackson, but I don't see Joakim Noah as making that big of a contribution. That's just me. And I think a lot of people are sleeping on what J.R. Smith's going to be able to do for y'all. He's a former teammate to LeBron. He's very, very familiar with LeBron. And I don't know of anybody who's motivated more than him, number one, because he's been out of the league for over a year and a half. And number two, because the last time we saw him when it really, really mattered, he made one of the gravest mistakes you can make in basketball by forgetting to score in the end of regulation in game one of the NBA Finals, ultimately ruining a 51-point effort by LeBron James. So because of that, I think that JR is highly motivated. Even though he's streaky, he can make big shots. He can make things happen. He's got heart. He's not scared, and he can defend as well. So, yes, you, him, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Alex Caruso, all of y'all are going to play a big role. The problem is none of y'all are quote-unquote floor generals, point guards. And as a result, that puts the onus on LeBron James. And I'm trusting that this guy, who's renowned for taking phenomenal care of his body, is going to be ready for the responsibility and the load he's going to be asked to carry.
Definitely. And I said I agree a ton. Can't say it any better. But yeah, it may not be thinking about Joakim or Reggie but they have to put it together. That's nothing. I was going to say, even though they have all that talent, they have to figure it out to make it work and things happen. Us the same. We're figuring out the chemistry, figuring out the roles. But I do like JR, and I'm learning a lot from him because he was a teammate of LeBron's for so many years. I played with LeBron a rookie. I didn't play much my rookie year, so still figuring out, learning. It took me all of this year figuring out spacing, timing, where he likes people on the floor. JR is very good at knowing where to be, when to be ready, and how to play alongside. So
it's incredibly important to know how to play with LeBron, because what LeBron does is literally come up the floor and figure out how to create mismatches. People don't realize almost every play LeBron is playing on the court, he's looking to create a mismatch for himself or for somebody else. There are some people who don't even want the mismatch. Move out the way. I got this dude. Let me slay him. Or it's your turn now, blah, blah, blah. That's not LeBron. LeBron goes on the court, and he's methodical and systematic in his approach to pick you apart as a team. So what he wants to do is, LeBron is actually not just competing against the players, he's competing against the opposing coach. And the opposing coach knows he has LeBron to worry about. So LeBron is holding the ball in his hands, and people are thinking he's looking for himself because he's averaging 21 a night and he shoots 20 shots a game or whatever. No, what he's doing is, okay, Danny, if I do this, this will create this mismatch with Danny. If I do this, this is going to put Anthony Davis in this position. JR likes it here, here, here. All of those things are things that LeBron figures out, and that's what makes him so great, along with his obvious talents.
Very calculated, and he does it at a high level very efficiently. So that's a tough matchup for any team to take down. And I hope everybody on our team brings it to that level of where he's at, IQ-wise, and obviously locked in mentally and physically. But to another note, going to the East Coast now, talk about the East. We talked enough about the West. You followed and you covered Sixers back in the day, of course, when AI was back, on the team back then. What do you think their chances are getting back to the finals? Obviously, with their guys being healthy now. Embiid had some issues. Simmons is back now. And what do you think of their chances are if they move Ben to the power forward and put out to the bench?
First of all, they're not my favorites. It would be Milwaukee. I think Boston has a better shot. I think Miami is a sleeper because Miami they got brothers in Hero and Duncan Robinson that pull up from the parking lot. I mean, they don't give a damn. They have no conscience. And I love those guys. They ain't Clay and Steph because I consider them to be the greatest shooting backcourt in the history of basketball. And both are the two of the top 5 shooters in the history of basketball, with Steph being number 1 and Clay arguably number 2 to 5, wherever you want to put them. But Hero and Duncan Robinson have potential to be an elite shooting duo for the Miami Heat for years to come. And when they're making shots, Miami's just a different team, and you can't applaud enough the leadership of Jimmy Butler and what he's been able to do for that team, along with Bam Adebayo, even though he's only 22. What I would say about Philly, however, is this. Philly now has to be elevated into the picture. Now that Brett Brown has made the move of putting Ben Simmons to the 4 and inserting Shake Milton into the lineup as his point guard. Shake Milton was averaging like 17.8 points a game over the last 9 games. This brother shoots 45% from 3, about 49% from the field. The brother can put it in a hole. He's 6'6", 6'7", can put it in the hole, okay? Why is that so important? Because when they lost Jimmy Butler and J.J. Redick, to me, that ruined their title hopes because you didn't have that quote-unquote perimeter shooter. Tobias can ball. Joel Embiid is a star. I think Ben Simmons is a jump shot away from being LeBron Part 2. That's how highly I think of Ben Simmons. He's just that special of a talent. He just can't shoot worth a damn during an NBA game. Shoots good in practice. Shoot good in those videos that they post. He shoots good there. But in an actual game, he won't even attempt perimeter shots, for crying out loud. He's only attempted 6 3-point shots all year long and about 11 or 12 his entire career. He don't want to shoot. And because of that, that doesn't open the floor up enough for them. So getting somebody like Shake Milton, who has no conscience about pulling up, if he can make shots, that opens the floor. But I think a couple of things have to happen. I think Brett Brown still has to find a way to call set plays for Ben Simmons and make sure he's active offensively, albeit with his back to the basket on the front line. I also think he has to be cognizant of crowding because you don't want Joel Embiid out in the damn perimeter with his 7'1", 260-pound self, shoot threes or 18-foot jump shots. No, get your big behind down on the post and be a man down there like we know you can be, because Joel Embiid is that dude when he's on his game. But you don't want the overcrowding there. You don't need him in the game with Al Horford, because, again, even though Al Horford can step away from the basket and hit shots, let's face it, it was a significant drop-off from Horford watching him this year compared to the previous years we saw him in Boston. So we're not seeing that right now. Maybe he could get that back with this hiatus, but we're not sure. All of those things I'm being mindful of. So you got Tobias, you got Ben Simmons, you got Joel Embiid with a Shake Milton and whoever else you want to put out there. You have got to have perimeter play from someone other than Joel Embiid. So Joel Embiid can operate in the post like the man he's supposed to be. If they do that, Philly can beat anybody in the East. If they don't do that, they're going home in the first round.
Who is the biggest threat to Milwaukee in the East?
I don't want to disrespect Toronto because they're having a damn good year, and Nick Nurse has done a hell of a job, and Pascal Siakam has really emerged without Kawhi Leonard there and yourself any longer. But I'm just of the mindset that even though Boston is a team that everybody likes to pick, I'm a huge Jason Tatum fan. And I love Kemba Walker there with Jason Tatum. I don't think Gordon Hayward has ever been the same since his nasty injury. I think it's going to take him another season to get back to himself. And I think that Kemba's having knee issues is going to hamper him as well. I think the number one threat is Miami. I really do. Because Miami wants to shoot perimeter shots, and they want to push the ball up the floor. They want to dictate pace, okay? If they slow the game down, they'll never beat a Milwaukee. But if they run you up and down the floor, that's something that could happen. Plus, they got to imitate what y'all did. See, when y'all were down to Milwaukee 0-2 in the conference finals, everybody forgetting, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you on the team and you know the plays better than I do. But what I saw was Nick Nurse have Kawhi Leonard pick up the Greek Freak at half court just to slow down the momentum. So the Greek Freak wasn't coming downhill. And because he wasn't coming downhill anymore, you couldn't stop it. He could be stopped with more ease than he was the first couple of games of the series when he was coming at y'all downhill. I think everybody in the East needs to remember what was done to the Greek Freak by y'all, led by Kawhi Leonard. Because if you do that to the Greek Freak, what happens is that you two, because you were helping to slow him down, because as soon as he got past half court, y'all were on him. Y'all didn't wait until he was coming at y'all and y'all picked him up at the foul line and said, no. Y'all had him at half court, and it completely changed this game and the whole team. Bledsoe wasn't the same. Middleton wasn't the same. Lopez wasn't the same. Those guys, even Brogdon to some degree, because he's efficient as well, even though he's in Indiana right now, but he was efficient as hell. But the bottom line is the Greek Freak got neutralized to some degree, and that just completely disrupted everything. To me, Miami has the capability to do similar things with Jimmy Butler. Plus, they'll beat you from the perimeter and running up and down on the open court. That's why I think we can't sleep on Miami.
It's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be interesting. And I don't want to give away any secrets of what we did last year or try to, any Greek Freak weaknesses, but he's a tough guy to guard anywhere on the floor.
Make him shoot jump shots. Make him shoot jump shots. Because even when he makes them, it still takes away from their game. When he gets to the hole and finish with those high efficiency shots, it propels everybody. First of all, it enables guys to get back on defense. There's no long rebounds or anything like that. Even on a rare occasion, he does miss inside. Make him shoot jump shots. And if you make him shoot jump shots, he doesn't want to do that. So he's not going to do that all game long, even if you let him.
Well, he's working on it. We'll see.
Stephen A., you made the point about Miami. Obviously, they also have Bam Adebayo, who could be the favorite for most improved player. He's another option that
he's my favorite for that, yes.
To guard Giannis Antetokounmpo. We want to give our well wishes to, Eric Bledsoe, who Chris Haynes just reported had the coronavirus, who's not with the team in the bubble. So hopefully he does join the team and he can play to his full capacity.
And Russell Westbrook.
Yes, indeed. So before we go, we got Hollis Queen Stephen A. We got the Love Doctor Stephen A. We got Stephen Naismith. Now, if you can give us just a splash right before we go, this will be the last thing that we ask of you. If you can give us Stephen A. Smith, friend of Kobe Bryant. Anything that you got for us that would resonate with the Laker fan base?
You know what? It's so many things. I remember one time when we got into arguments a couple of times because he made, man, what the fuck you talking about? Did you really say that bullshit? You know what I'm saying? And he's one of the few. This is a secret that I'll tell y'all about me. Like Danny, the nicest guy in the world. So I go out of my way, to try to be nice and all of that other stuff, because he's just not Danny, the kind of guy, if you insult him, you feel guilty about it. You're like, damn, I really didn't want to say he shot 2 for 10 tonight. I mean, damn, I feel bad. He's that kind of guy. But there are other guys like Kobe and others, God rest his soul, where you can say something like that. And Kobe would literally, if I said something, Kobe would be like, motherfucker, what did you say? Did you not see the game? Did you not see what happened? What are you talking about? Why did you let them say that? I said, Kobe, I ain't say it. They said, what you let them say it for? That kind of stuff, And so it's interesting because stuff like that, when cats got your number, like literally your phone number, and they know the game, and they will call you, you're sitting there like, damn, I got to make sure I got this right, because if I don't, I'm going to hear their mouth. And it's a few guys playing in a bubble right now that I won't mention any names. They'll do that to me, too. It's like, I better have it right, because if I don't have it right, they're going to call my number. And it was, you go on First Take tomorrow and correct that bullshit you said. Oh, they would definitely say that to me. But the two stories that stand out of my mind about Kobe was, first, in 2006, I was hosting my show, quite frankly, that aired on ESPN2 from August of 2005 to January of 2007. And Kobe came on after the whole Eagle County, Colorado thing, and he did an hour-long interview with me. And when he did that, he and I were talking in the back after the show, and he was like, you did a good job, bro. And I said, yeah, thanks, man. People telling me I got a chance to be the male Oprah. And his exact words was, F Oprah. Harper. She owns that shit. Don't be looking at her as some on-air talent. She owns it. That's what you should be thinking about. And so that was where his mindset always was. That's why when he won the Academy Award, I wasn't surprised. And when he was doing things with detail for ESPN Plus and others, I wasn't surprised, because that's what he's about. So that was one thing. The other thing was, you know, it was, I'm trying to remember when this was because that was 2006. And then I think it was like 2012, I was on the radio. 2012, 2013. I was on the radio and I was talking about Kobe. You know, I got love for Kobe. Kobe's Kobe, but damn it, Father Time. I don't know right now. I don't know. And he texts me, I'm listening, MF. I'm listening. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, come on, come on. He said, I'll come on when Father Time says I could come on. And so I went back at him. I said, watch this. And I went on the air. And I said to my listeners, and I had to produce, I said, whose radio show is this? They said, I said, what's the name of this radio show? They said, Stephen A. Smith Show. I said, Stephen A. Smith Show right there. I said, say it loud, say it again. I said, who tells me what to say on my show? Who? They like, nobody. I said, that's right. Kobe Bryant is trying to tell me what the hell to say. You don't tell me what to say. I decide what I say, damn it. Don't tell me anything, right? And he texts me back, I'm gonna get your ass. Stop now. You know? So it was just stuff like that we would go at each other all the time, but it was all love and it was always about basketball, man. And I miss him. I miss him a lot. That was a good brother to me. He was always good to me, man. I love him and I miss him.
For sure. For sure. We all do. The world does, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you taking your time, man. It's been amazing. From all aspects, from the Love Doctor, sharing the stories.
Yeah.
So much love, man. Appreciate it. I can't wait to get in the bubble, man. We'll allow.
I can. I ain't question it. You know, I'm coming there. Conference finals, NBA finals. But I'm hoping and praying ESPN don't expedite it. Listen, we got great people there in Orlando. We got Malika Andrews. We got Rachel Nichols and other. I mean, we got great people from ESPN in the bubble. They don't need me there right now. There's no need to rush. There's no need to rush. I'm coming, but we don't need to rush that. We don't need to rush. Open up a little bit more.
By the time you come, I'm sure they're gonna let other families and friends. They allow you to bring your significant other or lack thereof, if you whoever your girlfriend, squeeze, however you want to call it, they'll let you bring her with you. So the bubble will be better at that point. But once again, man, thank you for your time, man. Really appreciate it. It was amazing stuff, man. Hopefully the bubble gets back and rolling, sports get back to it, and you get some good things to talk about when we start playing in a couple of weeks. And everybody's excited about interesting basketball. So hope to.
Man, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank all of y'all for just getting basketball back on the map. I was never a proponent of not reigniting the league. I didn't want that collective bargaining agreement to be ripped up. I didn't want a new deal to have to be negotiated with a hard salary cap getting instituted. If they did all of that, it would have cost y'all majorly. I'm happy that y'all have it. We need basketball. We need y'all, and we need y'all to be who y'all are. And no matter what I've achieved in my career, I'm incredibly grateful to y'all for doing what y'all do, because if y'all wasn't doing it, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I'm thankful, I'm grateful, and in all seriousness, I'll be down in the bubble whenever they say I need to be down and making whatever sacrifices I need to make, because if they can ask y'all to do it and y'all are doing it, that's the least I could do.
Well, appreciate your time, man. Hopefully we don't let you down, man. And hopefully win some games. And last team standing as you
do not lose in no first round or nothing like that. That cannot happen. That cannot happen. And tell LeBron I said that. Tell AD I said that. They cannot lose early. Lakers got to play at least deep into September. You got to do it.
For sure. I'll put the team on notice.
Handle your business.
Yes, sir.
Handle your business.
Yes, sir.